So, I've been having this on-running debate with this Christ-hard named Old Gordo 61. He says, Bill Nye is entitled to his opinions. Where he misses the point is where he is telling parents what they should or should not be teaching their children. It's none of his business or the government's. Besides, Bill Nye is not even a scientist. He's an engineer. That's number one. Engineering is a science. And number two, it shouldn't be in schools. Or have you forgotten how the Constitution works? Your creation science, or ID, is not science. This is how science works. Trial and error. You get it wrong until you get it right. Then you talk about it. Until you have evidence for your claims, and not the typical bullshit you people spew, then it will be accepted by the scientific community. Until then, keep your shit out of the classroom. So he replies with some of this stupid shit. He says, Nye is entitled to his opinion, but he's not an expert on cosmology. Cosmology isn't even a science anymore. And the origins of the universe. He's not talking about the classroom. He's talking about the parents. What they should they teach. What a fucking idiot. Their kids and what they should not. That's not his business, yours, mine, or anyone else's. If parents want to teach their kids about God, that is their right to do so. I said, here's the thing. When you people tell your kids they will be punished forever, without mercy, forever and ever, you are psychologically abusing that child. The problem is that because you think it's moral, doesn't mean it is. And it does not mean that the source of that morality is a good one. If you have to give ultimatums, you are nullifying free will. Just like a rat in a maze, one direction leads to pain, the other cheese. But would not the rat just rather do what it does? And he says, oh, you're preaching stereotypes, nonsense, and stereotypes. He doesn't even put and between stereotypes and nonsense about religious families. No one that I know who is a Christian ever said that to children that they are going to be sent to hell forever if they disobeyed God. Christian families I personally know bring up their children in love and teach by example, by living the gospel. I have never seen any parent in my ward raise their hand in anger or use harsh words to belittle their child. So the words suffer the children mean nothing to you. This is from my standpoint, because old Gordo 61 said the last part. So the words suffer the children mean nothing to you. What if they don't believe in your Jeebus? What do you tell them then? Don't try to pull that shit with me. I used to be one of you people, and I was a typical fire and brimstone damnation Christ-hard. You're trying to paint innocence without first being honest. That's baby talk. So then, why don't we talk like big people and be honest with each other? So he says, again, you're wrong. Yes, it has happened on occasion, so you're admitting that you're a liar, where one of the children chose not to attend church, go to activities, or even openly rebelled against the church and their parents. The parents may have had he says trails. It's trials, retard. Trials dealing with their child, but they never stopped caring and being concerned about their child, no matter how far their child strayed off, without any commas in between. When you are a good, kind, and loving parent, you love your kid no matter what. Take it as you will. What I'm saying is no BS. And I said, it's not just a few either. I was in the fold for 25 plus years, so your bullshit is getting deeper. I've heard it from the vast majority, in fact. And so he says to me, sounds like you've had a few bad experiences. I cannot speak for you, of course, but based on your observation, those who left my church did so in their own volition, or over something that they took offense to. They were never ostracized or pushed away by other members, at least not that I'm aware of. They chose to leave. Well, here's the thing, is that I've heard that fucking stupid, same goddamn fucking retarded rhetorical bullshit since the beginning. Here's my reply. Should I go through all of my texts and replies, then show you how many times I've received that exact same reply? Will you then see how stupid it is to use it? I've heard those words, in fact, in that same exact fucking condescending tone. No one is dumber than he who claims to know. So he says to me. He says, I'll take your word for it concerning the text messages and replies. You do realize atheists make claims as well. That they know. So I guess they are just as dumb as us believers. I'm not talking about atheists. I'm talking about science and why it is a necessary part of development as opposed to creationism, which is more a heady venture. So he says to me, why is the possibility of intelligent design so far-fetched? Well, he says, of intelligent designed. Fucking idiot. So far-fetched. If, for example, you can accept the possibility of quantum mechanics answering questions of the creation, which is just remote, I guess he means to say which is just as remote as intelligent design or creation, whatever, there is no evidence to support QMT, quantum mechanical theory, just based on mathematical equations of ghost particles popping in and out of existence. You can't even begin to compare a particle of very little matter to a cosmos that contains everything, including space and time itself, because you have to first prove said designer exists. This is my reply to his dumbass. Because you have to first prove said designer exists, and without physical proof, it does not belong in the physical sciences. So he says to me, sure it can. How is it that the universe is so incredibly finely tuned for it even to exist, at all? His grammar is horrible, by the way. Any microfraction of deviation of necessary events, and I've heard fucking dumbass Hoban say this before, the deviation of necessary events that had to take place leading up to our present time would be something like 10 followed by the power of exponent of 25. He didn't even say of the exponent, he says of exponent of 25. He doesn't even know how to speak English. He's just talking shit. That's incredibly long odds against this cosmos even existing, and yet it does. But random creation just cannot explain how reality came to be. So now you're confusing cosmology with real science. Astronomy and astrophysics, on the other hand, now that's where you'll get your answers. I can tell you right now, I'm well versed in every religion you can think of, and every sect you can even begin to label off to me. I will show you where you are mistaken, and how your messages are conveyed, and I will continue to do so. So he doesn't answer me for like 20 minutes. I say, are you through submitting stupid comments yet? So I take it you accept what I'm saying to you, given your lack of reply. Do you see how asking stupid questions and then not answering those said questions, or the questions asked of you honestly, is making you look stupid? He says, no, I could not reply back right away due to problems with my email inbox. It seems you are avoiding my questions. Why is quantum theory more valid in your mind than an intelligent designed cosmos? You want to say intelligently, right? But you don't know how to speak English because you're a Christian. There is just as much lack of physical evidence. He says, oh. He doesn't even put an F behind the of. Lack of physical evidence to support quantum mechanical theory, as you say for evidence of God. I'll read your response tomorrow, as it's getting late, and I've got work in the morning. Peace. I don't think he does have work in the morning. In fact, I think he probably has to, wake up and wait for mommy to make breakfast so he can get back on the computer and talk more shit. So I said to him, without quantum physics, you wouldn't have the computer you're typing on. So then he comes back a few hours later. He says, that kind of thinking could lead to the rights of parents of raising their children as they see fit being taken away by the government because those parents showed not a comma yet. chose to raise their kids with the gospel in their lives, and then ... Would you object to atheist parents raising their children in a God-free environment? It's no one's business. It's no one business. Look, learn how to speak English if you want to be taken seriously. It's no one's business but the parents how to raise and teach their kids. I said, I don't object to the presentation of the idea so much as when and how. Let them get an education in everything, all sciences, all religion, and so on. Then offer them your doctrine when they're educated enough to be critical of themselves and what they accept. You seem to think that it's okay to use evasive language and whatnot as a valid way to win a debate. If the debate can't stay on track because of what you think you know, then it is not a debate. It's just your injection of opinion. And he says, oh, I'm all for getting an educated and children to think for themselves. Still, parents have the right to raise their kids in a religious home or not. That first part, I can't even understand what the hell you're trying to say to me. Let me ask you this. If you object to parents teaching their kids about God in the home, what is your stance about atheist parents teaching their kids about their beliefs? There is a difference in getting an education that enables critical thinking in all areas of study, but it is another thing to tear down someone's religion and faith. Science has nothing to do with atheism, I say. This is what I'm saying here. Science has nothing to do with atheism. It is an impartial approach to what we can readily observe. What is of spiritual nature belongs within the discipline, but not at the expense of a wider world view. Yet atheists keep chanting the mantra, science, science, science. So they seem to worship science as the be-all and end-all to everything. Don't get me wrong. I think science is a truly great way to know how things work and how they interact with other things. It can tell us how far stars are, what they are made of, and how old they are, and how they're born and die. But science can't answer the whys. Why are we here? Why do we exist? And what is our purpose? And so I said to him, that's not the purpose of science. If you've been reading the entirety of my post, you'd see that. Scientists don't claim to know anything. They just present evidence as it is discovered. Atheism is a totally different issue altogether. I'm not an atheist. Not totally. Yet I accept things because I do not believe I know anything. I am open to both sides, but that does not mean I have to accept them. But I have considered both sides, and the creationist view does not fit in with the scientific criteria. So he says to me, the purpose of science is to answer questions, right? So the question I stated in my last post should be relevant to science. But if science can't answer such questions, then it cannot prove the existence of God one way or the other. And they who say twice, say there is no God, are just like the believers, simply going on faith. I said, trial and error cannot be attained without first having material evidence on which there can be performed experimentation and objective scrutiny. Do you accept that? So instead of answering the question, for most physical things, yes. Oh, well, I guess he did answer the question. However, some things are just impossible to be tested by scientific methods. For example, love. We all know it exists and can be and has been experienced by just about every human being at least one point in their life. Instead of saying, whatever. Yet love cannot be physically seen, touched, weighed, or measured. You may say, oh, it's simply biochemical reactions, but that only tells us how love affects the body and brain. It doesn't tell what exactly love, blank, 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 or ... is. So instead of oxytocin, look it up. That's what I said. And then I followed it up. I said psychology is the only non-physical science, and only because it gauges behavioral content. So that was the end of that was pretty much the end of our debate, and you can tell that he pretty much was destroyed throughout the thing, and that's why he basically hasn't replied back within the last fucking 8 hours, 9 hours. I'm sure he lives on the other side of the country, so whatever. Just ugh, duh. God, you people are fucking stupid. I don't claim to know what I'm talking about. I never claim to know what I'm talking about. And you talk shit to people like me who have been in your fucking pseudo society, you that just learned something else that was more important or less important. Doesn't really matter about importance. But just a better explanation for this realm that we live in. We live in the physical world. We do not live in this heady fucking, spiritual. This is not a spiritual world. Spiritual world belongs in your brain. If you do not accept that, then you're fucking retarded. I'm not really. I'm not a theist, and I'm not an atheist. I'm somewhere in between, because I can't prove either side right. And I don't really care if they're right. And I never claim to be right. And I never claim to know anything. So stop fucking putting words in my mouth, and stop dodging issues. When I pose a question, answer the fucking things. Instead of talking shit. Now, on the other hand, there's this other asshole, and I'm going to pull his stupid comments up right now. He says to me, let's see, I'm going to start at the beginning too, so just to bore all my viewers here, of which I only have like 7, so I'm not really, concerned with what they think. So the issue was building a dinosaur from a chicken. TED Talks. Well, TED Talks is awesome if you've ever watched it. So I don't even remember where this started. I'll just see if I can't find the original arguments. Because it starts way back, and he just jumps around talking shit, and see if I can't find it. Well, they just talk so much shit. I'm not even going to go through this fucking dumbass's fucking shit, because he's a fucking idiot. In fact, what I'll do is I'll hit you with his last comment. He just talks shit. His name is Maximus Aurelius. One word. He says to me, he answered this to me, because we had this long, he was talking about how, evolution is bullshit, and all these evolutionary scientists are liars and all that. And it's like, dude, you're a fucking moron. He says, factoid. DNA studies are showing that everything is designed by an intelligent designer. Any scientist saying otherwise is a liar. I said, you're so full of it, you're shitting all over your own keyboard. All you can do is baby talk. Nuh-uh, it's true, because we can't prove otherwise. Look, provide physical evidence, physical proof for your intellectual designer. Then you'll be taken seriously by the scientific community. Science is based on physical evidence, and until you have some, you won't be able to convince the real scientist otherwise. Look up science and tell me I don't understand science. Otherwise, shut up, you fucking dunce. These people, they just... They do not understand how things work, and they don't understand the physical world because their pastors have been pounding stupid sugar-coated bullshit into their brains since they were children. It's not feasible. It's not feasible. It's not that I don't believe in your God. It's just that I can't prove otherwise. So it's no use in believing in your God. In fact, I have my own God, and it's deeply personal. It has nothing to do with science or religion. In fact, I'd rather it stay as far away from religion as possible so that you fucking people don't corrupt it. It just you corrupt everything. You try to stick your nose in everybody else's shit and say that you know something when you really don't know anything. So, instead of just talking shit, why don't you get an education? And, well, here's where I think started out. He calls me a dumb hillbilly. Is this your intelligent comment? I don't remember what I said to him. I said, ask your mom. I'm sure she'll remember. And my most intelligent, what my most intelligent comment is, yeah, my mom has been dead for 35 years. So I asked your mom, and she said, I have raised an idiot. I said, 35 years, you say? No wonder she was so still. Yeah, but your mom wasn't. And I had to hold her down, so you're a rapist, right? And I was like, thanks for playing. You retards are so fucking funny. Us ego-tards have educations, at least to the degree that we don't sound like utter bumpkins. And yes, I thought that was an awesome comeback, seeing as yours have fallen flat. That's why we call you creatards. You try and hang with intellectually superior individuals, think your mental diarrhea actually alludes to something meaningful, and are oh so entertaining when you're mad. And well, I could go on and go on and go on. But I think I've already proven my point as to how stupid Christians really are. And I'm not talking about just the run-of-the-mill Christians. I mean, there's quite a few agreeable Christians that I've met. Ones that accept, other ways of thinking. Ones that reject thinking that they know what they're talking about. They just accept both sides of it. That's kind of an apologetic approach, which to me is bullshit. But they still have an education. As to where most of the Christians who don't have an education are relying on shit from 75, 80-year-old pastors that didn't get an education in the modern world. So, anything else that you have to say to me, I will destroy it. I will tear it down, and I will make you look like a fucking idiot. Just go ahead and reply to these videos. I want you to. I want you to reply as much as possible, just so I can have these discussions and feel smart, because I know I'm a dummy. If a dummy, me, a dummy, can have these conversations with you and make my points somewhat understandable, then who's the real dummy here?